Hello, welcome to Cloud Stories. I'm your host, Heather Smith, and I'm thrilled you're listening into the show. This is the first episode of Cloud Stories. Cloud Stories is an indulgent excuse for me to connect with some brilliant minds in the cloud community and ask them oodles of questions. My goal for this podcast is to share stories of people and businesses operating in the cloud community. Developers, integrators, end users, solution providers, business consultants, all sorts of businesses and peoples involved in the cloud. I envisage together we can gain a 360-degree insight into this evolving business phenomena. We can pick up tips, tools and tactics from stories shared. We can understand where the pieces of the puzzle fall into place, and in turn we can effectively and efficiently use this newfound knowledge being power. This is an independently run podcast and I plan to publish the shows every Friday. In today's show, I'm privileged to be talking with Valerie Khoo. But before I introduce Valerie, let me share with you details of some of the upcoming episodes. From Edinburgh, Scotland, I talked to Colin Hewitt, the co-founder of Float app, an approved add-on of the Xero ecosystem. Colin is a co-founder of a small technology business, and I talked to him about the startup scene in Edinburgh and about attracting and working with investors. Now, I think that is a really interesting topic for any business that's looking to attract investors, which I know many of the add-on solutions, this is something that they might be contemplating. Now, from Drury, New Zealand, I speak with Gail Buchanan of the Number Nurses. Gail recently won the Bookkeeping Marketing Innovation 2014 award from the New Zealand Bookkeepers Association. And I'm talking to her about her very interesting business model and, of course, marketing. So I think it's a really interesting episode for all the business advisors out there and anyone who wants to think about different thoughts of marketing, hear from someone who's doing a really good job of their own marketing. But let's get right into today's episode. So I can't share with you how excited I am to have Valerie Khoo as my first guest, but let me tell you a bit about her if you don't know. Valerie is the National Director of the Australian Writers' Centre, the country's leading centre for writing courses. With campuses in Sydney, Melbourne, Perth and online, the centre has helped more than 17,000 students get published, change career or write with confidence. Valerie is also an advisor and investor in startups. Her blog has consistently been named as one of the top 20 business blogs in Australia. I have admired Valerie's writing for many years, and I've done a number of the courses at the Australian Writers' Centre, and I found extremely beneficial. And I'm now pleased to call Valerie not only just a really good friend, and I'm really thrilled to bring her here today. And I'm sure you'll gain a lot from this session. So with no further waiting, let's hear from Valerie. Hello, Valerie. Welcome to our show today.
It's great to be here, Heather.
Thank you so much for sharing your time with us today. Really appreciate it. I'm really excited about talking with you today. And I know from listening to you speak in so many other capacities that our listeners will really appreciate what you have to share with them today.
Well, I hope I can share a few insights that people can learn from.
Sensational. That's exactly what we wanted to hear. So, Valerie, you run the Australian Writers' Centre, which is something that I've sort of been involved with on the side, and you've currently got campuses in Sydney, Melbourne, Perth and online, and you've helped more than 17,000 students, which is amazing. Can you give us an outline of how your business operates and sort of what sort of courses it offers?
Sure. So as you mentioned, we are the Australian Writers' Centre. We actually just started off in Sydney, but then we grew over time. And our first foray into another state was centre in Melbourne. That's going really well. And then earlier this year, we opened in Perth. We have another one in the wings.
Ooh.
I've just been checking out venues for that, but that's yet to be announced.
Ooh, anywhere close to me?
It's not official yet. I can't say anything. You'll have to stay tuned.
Breaking news.
But we also have a very, very active and large online campus, so to speak. About 40 to 45% of our students actually study online from all over Australia and the world. So what we do is we offer writing courses, and they are designed to help people, adults, improve their writing or get published or change careers or write with just more confidence. And so they are in all different genres of writing. And the beauty about our courses is they're pretty short. So you can just do a taster, you can do 5 weeks or you can do a weekend course, that sort of thing. But the good thing is if you decide that you like it, you can build on it. You can do the next course and then you can do the next course. They're all relatively short so that it's all in manageable bite-sized chunks, because we find that, as with most people and these days, time is a scarce commodity. So we want to make sure that it's something that people can do and commit to.
Oh, that's interesting. I hadn't realised that they were aimed at as being short courses, but yeah, I know that you have like this first course, then the second course. But yeah, you're completely right. People get overwhelmed if it's too much involved. And I know that while they are short courses, I've done 2 of them now. They are packed with lots of insight and information.
Yeah, that's one thing I'm really committed to, because I'm a course junkie from way back, and I've done many courses. I'm never without doing a course. And one of the things that I don't like about some courses is when they, treat you like a dummy or treat you like an idiot, and they think you're not capable of learning more. And I do believe people are capable of learning more. I do believe that people want to learn more and have a thirst for that knowledge. So I make sure that we do have a lot of information and really interesting things in our courses.
Absolutely. That's sensational. And I completely agree with that. People are really into content specific courses these days. And it probably leads to a whole other conversation of whether people need to go out and go on and do further education, or whether they should just tailor their life around content specific short courses like the ones you offer. So why did you actually start your business?
Well, I started it because I was at a period in my life when I was thinking to myself, I really want to do something different and I really want to make a difference in people's lives. But I also needed to, eat and pay the mortgage. And I thought to myself, well, what am I passionate about? And as twee and cliched as this may sound, it is the honest to God truth.
Mm-hmm.
What I love doing, what gets me excited, is when I help people realize their potential, or help people realize what's the steps that they can take to get what they really want in life or achieve what they really want as a goal. So I know that sounds a little bit
doesn't. No, it doesn't. I completely. I've seen you in action, so I'm not going to disagree with that, because I know that you do that, and I know that you're very good at actually pinpointing people. And I'm not speaking about myself, but I've seen you in action pinpointing people and just extracting what's bringing the cream to the top and saying, go for it.
Yeah, I just love doing it, and I love to see it. I love to see them go on that journey, and nothing makes me happier. So I thought, okay, well, what can I do? But I didn't want to be a life coach really, or I didn't want to be a business coach, but I did have a technical skill, was very experienced as writing, successful as a writer. So I thought, well, while I may not be able to help somebody, climb Mount Everest, because I would have no idea, or, win at MasterChef because I can't cook, I can certainly help them with their writing goals. And that's where it started. And what's interesting, though, is that even though that's where it started, and I thought, okay, I can help people achieve their writing dreams because I can teach them that technical skill, and I can, provide courses that it can equip them with the right skills, it actually spilled over a lot, because even though it starts off as writing, some people discover writing and it actually changes their life, because they can suddenly have a lifestyle that they wanted, or they actually can earn more money than they thought that they would as a stay-at-home mum, perhaps.
Yeah.
And they get more confidence in doing something that they've always wanted to do. And it's just been the most rewarding experience. So that's where it started, me kind of trying to marry my passion with the technical skill, if you know what I mean.
How long did it take you to formulate your passion?
I think my passion has been with me for a long time. I can't even remember. I think I've just always felt this way because even my friends will tell you that I'm slightly annoying in that I'm the one when you catch up for drinks or dinner or whatever, I'm the one that says, of course you can do it. Just do this, do this, do this. You know what I mean? So I'm a little bit of they probably think I'm a little bit of a nagger, even though I think I'm a cheer squad. So it's something I've done for as long as I can remember. But it took me just a little while to articulate it and figure it out when I was thinking of what I wanted to do for my business or my career. And
it's interesting that, isn't it? When you actually need to do it to monetize it, it's like, oh, what's my passion? Like it can take people a second to think about it. Yeah.
Yeah. I didn't really know. I didn't sort of identify it until I thought, well, what really fuels me? And I sat down and made myself think about that. And I realized, well, yeah, that's what I do to all my friends is what I love because I care about them and I want to see them succeed. And so it kind of just expanded from there.
Excellent. So can I ask you, what platform is the business online courses built on?
Lots of different
probably
ones.
Probably I grammatically phrased that really badly, probably.
We understood you, so that's okay. Lots of different ones, but the main one that the online courses specifically is built on is an application called Open Learning, which is a fantastic, a company in Sydney, and I'm fortunate enough to also be one of their advisors because I really believe in their product. But basically, it's an online learning platform, so like a learning management system, which is designed to obviously deliver online courses, but designed for the students to have a great user experience that is similar to sort of Facebook in the sense because so many people are used to that.
Yes.
These days. So, so then you can reply to each other, you can like each other's comments,
okay.
You can, dip into different areas, just like in Facebook, you dip into different, pages or groups or whatever. So yeah, it's called Open Learning.
Okay. Well, thank you for sharing that with us. How long does it take you to go through the development of a course? And sort of what process do you go through?
You mean from scratch?
Yeah, I guess so. From the formulation or conception of a course.
Forever.
Oh, forever. Okay. So it's
it takes a really long time, to be honest, because typically we start off our courses in a classroom setting, in real life,
yes.
In most cases. And because that is where you figure out what works and what doesn't. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
You get an immediate reaction to certain things and to things that where you can see all the pennies drop and you can see blank faces. So typically we start off in a classroom experience, and once we know that we've nailed it, then we know that we can turn this into an online course. And that takes way more time than you think. A lot of work.
Oh no, I think it takes a long time in that I've tried to develop my own, and it's like, it's life sapping. Like going, wow.
It takes a really long time because you need to make sure that every I is dotted and every T is crossed, because you need to, you just never know when someone's listening. They could be listening on the bus or in front of the computer or doing the laundry or, whatever, in the car. And you've got to make sure that the information is conveyed not in a lecture style, but almost in a conversational storytelling style so that it's easily absorbed and remembered. So it takes quite a while to change information into something that's digestible like that, because unlike a classroom course, you can see people's reactions on their faces.
Yes.
They can ask you a question immediately and you can fill in that particular gap. You have to think of every gap before you do an online course, so that all those gaps are already filled, and that any possible question is answered. Of course, people may still have their own other questions and certainly in our courses they have the opportunity to ask them. But in the first instance, you need to make sure that as much as possible is covered. And so, it's not only the creation and the structure and the design of the course, it's then also the creation of the actual course materials, the MP3s, the handouts, the online delivery, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So, yeah, a long time.
No. Oh, that's interesting to hear you say that, because I don't believe you didn't have a teacher's background, did you?
No, but I lectured at Sydney University at both within the Faculty of Economics, but also I did for years. I was a teacher at the Centre for Continuing Education of Sydney University.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that gives you kind of an understanding of the course development from a teacher's perspective, because I always kind of wondered whether you had teachers in there just guiding on that structure of things rather than coming along as the expert and applying it.
Yeah, I had that background for I was lecturing at Sydney Uni even more than 20 years ago.
So what's the most popular course that you offer these days?
I would say that creative writing is currently very popular.
Okay.
Now, they all go in peaks and troughs, of course, depending on what's fashionable at the time. But creative writing is very popular and is a perennially popular one because it is a great first step for people who think they might be interested in writing, they're not sure, but they love reading, or they kind of in the back of their mind think that they'd love to write a novel one day, or they just love telling stories. So that's a good one, because then people get a taste for what it's like in a slightly more structured environment. So then they kind of see, that structure actually helps my writing.
Yes.
And I can, I might be interested in taking the next step.
Yeah, it's interesting seeing people, because I'm in one of your community groups, and seeing people how they kind of need to be prodded along by people and by goalposts and settings, and people are encouraged and motivated by the actual other people pushing them along, or other people doing what they're doing. So that is interesting.
Definitely. It's inspiring to see other people
it's very inspiring.
around you succeed.
And the Writers' Centre has had so much success, which has been so impressive for what you've done. So I understand you use a product called Infusionsoft. Do you still use that product?
I do.
Okay,
yes.
So Infusionsoft, for those who are listening, is a sales and marketing automation software for small businesses that combines CRM, email marketing, and e-commerce. That was a pre-prepared question, because I thought I'll go on the website and make sure I get everything that it does. So can you give listeners a bit of an insight about this product and how you're using it and what it's done for your business?
Okay, so basically, as you mentioned, Infusionsoft is a cloud-based application that is a combination of a CRM but also an email marketing, has an email marketing function. If it has kind of like 10 bazillion features, of which I'm using maybe 5. Not quite.
Yeah.
We are using quite a few of the features, but there are many more that suit different types of industries and businesses, which just wouldn't be relevant for my particular business. So we have only been using that since around January 2014. I had actually explored it a few years ago, and when I was exploring similar applications to decide which one to use, and I decided against it at the time. I wasn't impressed with it at the time, to be honest. But over the last sort of year, or prior to moving to it, quite a few people who I respect said that they had started using it and that they were finding it good. So I thought it was time to give it a second look. And so I did a lot of research again and decided to give it a second look, and ended up deciding to give it a second go. And it's worked out well so far. I'm glad we made the decision to move to it. We were on a different application before that. So it's what it does is that it powers our back end, if you know what I mean. So
Yes.
that means the back end when you book into a course, also in terms of communication to students and prospective students, that's done via Infusionsoft. In some cases, you may fill in some web forms, and that's done by Infusionsoft. The delivery of the courses is not done by Infusionsoft. As I mentioned, that's done through Open Learning. But essentially, it powers our back end when the booking system and the communication system and the database system.
Yeah, no, it's sounds very impressive. It seems to sound like you have to set up a huge number of email templates when people have told me about it, sort of responding to everyone's reaction to different ways to the way that they react to what they're interested in.
Yes, it can be. You can make it really complex where you have a bazillion email templates because you may have really complex sort of decision trees.
Yes.
You know, if someone clicks on this, then they get this email. If they do not click on this, then they get this email. If they do not click on this after 5 days, then they get email. But we haven't actually gone, to that level of complexity.
Yeah.
Ours is simpler than that at this stage. However, there is potential for you to create really complex journeys if you want to.
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the things that's always impressed me about you is I know how thorough you are about researching something. So if you're actually using something, I know a huge amount of research has gone into that product.
Yes.
So, and it does seem to be that more businesses in Australia are exploring that product and seeing good results. But I think it's, as with anything, it needs to be properly implemented. So I'm sure that took you a bit of time, and there are a few experts out there who do the implementation, because you did a course, didn't you, or something like that for training sessions with them?
I think I was really lucky in the sense that typically what I found, I've met many Infusionsoft users now, and typically what I have found is that a huge number of them, like almost, all of them who aren't Infusionsoft consultants.
Oh, okay. Yes, yes.
Almost all the non-consultants, like just normal businesses, say, yeah, I had it for 6 months or a year and I only, did one campaign, and then I finally decided to get into it, and oh my God, it blew my mind, and I realized I could have been saving so much time over the last year. Now, so people seem to get it because they realize it's a good idea, but they seem to step slowly, very, very, very slowly into it because it can seem quite overwhelming and daunting.
Yes.
However, we were in this unique situation where we decided it's going to start in January. And our quietest time of year is the period between Christmas and New Year.
Oh, really? That's surprising.
Obvious reasons. Because everyone's just on holidays in Christmas and New Year.
Not being creative.
Yeah, they start on January 1 with their New Year's resolutions.
Yes.
But Christmas and New Year, they're busy eating, drinking. So we had no choice but to create the entire business in Infusionsoft in between Christmas and New Year.
Of course, no choice whatsoever. Yes,
I had no Christmas break. I was like every waking hour was creating Infusionsoft campaigns. So I was kind of lucky in the sense that I went bang straight into it, very, very in depth, and therefore got to learn it very quickly. I didn't do that stepped approach.
Yes.
So I got to understand what its capabilities in a very, very short, concentrated space of time. So yeah, it was an interesting period.
It's interesting to hear you, like you're a national director of a big organization with numerous employees, and you actually say, I went in, I got into the detail, I know how to do it. So it's always one of those things. It's like, I always wonder in business how much I get very into the detail, and I'm like, oh, maybe I shouldn't be. I should be pulling back from the detail. So it's interesting to hear you saying that you really got into the detail of it. So, but
partly that's because I have a curiosity.
Yeah.
So partly because I just am a little bit geeky and I kind of want to know stuff. I don't, once I know a certain level and once I know I have the staff member who knows way more than me about this, I step back and I let it go. Yeah. But, it was new to every staff member at that time. So we were all starting at ground zero and we all had to learn it anyway.
Are they all like spending their Christmas with you? Bunkered down, learning Infusionsoft.
Not quite.
Not quite.
I
okay.
didn't make them work between Christmas and New Year. But as soon as 1 or I think 2 January hit, we were straight into it. But you were referring to a course. I didn't actually go to a
No,
course. I
okay,
went
sorry.
to a conference
Oh, okay.
run by Infusionsoft in Phoenix, Arizona, which interestingly wasn't all about the platform itself. Only about 30% of the sessions were platform specific. The rest was about marketing and growing a business.
Oh, interesting. It's interesting that they do that. Cool. Okay. Oh, I'm sure some of the listeners will find that product interesting if they're not already using it, or go off and explore that. In your business, you've mentioned that you have a tendency to be a bit geeky and curious. What other online tools do you use in your business that you think our listeners might benefit from?
Cloud file storage is like changed my life. So it's really normal now, but I've been using it for years and years and years. And, you know, the fact that I can be on any device in any city, well, any of my devices, and because I spend a lot of time in between Sydney and Melbourne.
Yes.
And here I have an office in Sydney, but I have a home in Sydney, and then I have an office in Melbourne and a home in Melbourne. So there's already 4 places that I've got devices and that I spend time to work. So I needed for you know, from years ago, I wanted something to liberate me from the desk, from a single computer. And so the first thing I discovered, which I still love, is SugarSync, which is the, you know, cloud file syncing application.
Yes.
Of course, similar things can be done with Google Drive and Dropbox and Cubby, and I use all of them actually for different reasons. But for me, I love SugarSync the best.
Yes.
Because they all have slightly different limitations and parameters. SugarSync, it doesn't do everything. Like, it doesn't work with a server, whereas Cubby works with a server and Google Drive works with the server. Dropbox is a little bit annoying because you have to put everything in the Dropbox. And so, yeah, but I think that cloud file sharing services just liberates you so that you can literally work from anywhere with internet.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, they are amazing, amazing tools. And when you have it in SugarSync, can you just go and like search and it will just pull up the document you're searching for?
It's just like you have it locally on your computer. That's the bit that I love as well. Okay. And even if you do it, change it locally on your MacBook, on your laptop, it will sync to the cloud, and this cloud will then sync to every other device where it's also stored locally. You can just base it in the cloud if you want, but I like having it. I like having my files locally on whatever I'm working on.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's also quicker if you do that. I think the concept is push it to the cloud, but if you're using it, if you can pull it back down and work on it and then push it back up into the cloud. But
definitely.
I'm sure. I think it all comes down to sometimes the speed of the internet connection. And I know sometimes we see you frustrated by your internet connection in certain areas of Australia. So, so having that versatility is beneficial. So any other online tools that you like?
Yeah, so we use both Xero and Sasu.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so that's definitely been a game changer to have, cloud accounting, as opposed to, I remember the days when I just had to go to this particular computer in the office because I could only use that computer because that's what the, accounting license was on. And therefore I had to drive in at specific times to do it. Whereas, with cloud accounting, you could do it anywhere from wherever you want, and it's so easy to transfer the files or to look it up, from a whole other country. So I love that. The other one, it's not about business, but I love it to pieces, which is sort of cloud-based, is 2 things. The Foxtel TV guide.
Oh, okay.
I love it to pieces because I can be in Las Vegas and go, oh my God, I've got to take The Good Wife or whatever. Yes. And I can be in my hotel room in Las Vegas and I can choose, because I've got 2 Foxtel boxes, I can choose which room even to take.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, my Foxtel show on.
Okay, so you set it up and you can set up to record, and then you come home and you got all your recordings sitting there. That's cool. Yeah,
it's all recorded. So yeah, it's I love the Foxtel app.
Oh, well, that's cool. And is it like on your iPhone?
Yeah, your iPhone or your iPad. So you can be having a conversation with somebody. Oh, did you see that documentary about whatever? And you can search for it on the
Yes.
on the Foxtel app. And when you find it, you can just tape it and choose to tape it in my bedroom or my lounge room.
Oh, excellent. Yeah. Oh, that's a great share. And I'm sure people can record some business shows on there using it as well. Hey, in terms of many of our listeners probably come from a business background. So what course does the Australian Writers Centre offer that you'd recommend to a business person interested in writing?
It depends on what they want to write, but typically most business owners, I find, are keen to do a couple of things. Potentially write a blog in order to build their profile, but also to write, for their industry publications or even consumer publications to build their profile. So one course that I think is useful is the course Magazine and Newspaper Writing, because even if you don't necessarily want to write for a newspaper, what it teaches you is a great structure for any article that can translate to a blog post, but is ideal for writing articles for magazines. And that's a great way to build your profile when you have a column or a regular article placement in your industry magazine, or if you want to, one of the things it teaches you also is when you understand how journalists want to write a magazine article, and if you're on the other side of the fence, like you're being interviewed, you can also help them with the kind of content that's going to make the magazine article make you sound good, if you know what I mean.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's actually been an interesting phenomena that I've been realizing lately, in that I did one of those courses and got a lot of blog posts out there, and they take a little while time to write, etc. But then you see a journalist looking for a source to talk about XYZ, and you know what the key things are to tell them, to entice them to use you, and then you're like, well, I didn't have to write the article. I got an article in Sydney Morning Herald, and I'm quoted as the expert, and it took maybe 10 minutes work.
Yes, that's right.
That's what you do learn, that structure from. These are the key things that I should be highlighting, and this is a way to phrase a sentence, etc. Whereas sometimes you speak to people and they don't get to that point quickly.
Yeah, exactly right.
Yeah, so that's really good. Oh, now, one of the questions I wanted to ask of you was, you have been involved with a lot of podcasts, and I know you're currently, what's the name of it? You're doing a writer's podcast with Alice.
So it's called So You Want to Be a Writer, and it's with Alison Tate.
Yes, and it was recently featured on the Best New Podcast or New Featured Podcast on iTunes. Is that correct?
Yeah, New and Noteworthy.
New and Noteworthy podcast. That's very good. So what suggestions do you have for me for starting up a new podcast?
Do something that you're passionate about, and clearly you're passionate about, various concepts to do with cloud and productivity that can be enhanced as a result of cloud, which I think is a wonderful niche. I think cloud is a game changer.
Yes.
And I think that because people often think cloud and they just think cloud accounting, but there are so many applications that are really useful in the cloud. I probably use even, another 20, but they're such a normal part of my life. I don't even think, I'm going to use a cloud application now. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think that's right. And people kind of turn to me and go, well, how do you manage to get so much done? And it's like, well, I just sort of activate this and I activate that and I activate this and it's all done. And, but yeah, no, it does make life easier. It's quite funny. I did a productivity session in a meeting business group the other day, and the outcome of the productivity session was sharing calendars with your children to get them to do the work as well. So, but yeah, it was kind of interesting how we just, you do adopt a lot of them without even thinking about it.
Yeah, absolutely.
So you've told us the future for Australia's Writers Centre. You're perhaps looking at having another location here in Australia. Is there anything else in the future for the Australia's Writers Centre?
Well, we definitely will be transforming more of our business writing courses online, because we find that there's a real need for people to access that information wherever they are. They can't necessarily take a day off work to come to a course, a business writing course, because these are typically like one-day courses during the day in the week. And also, if we can can transform them into online courses which are modularized, people can do 2 hours here.
Yes.
Then they might be able to do 2 hours, on Wednesday or 2 hours on Friday. They don't have to do it in a whole chunk of time. So that's definitely one of the next things on our agenda. Quite a few people have asked for various courses to be transformed online, and we're definitely looking into that. But as I mentioned, it is a very long and involved process. So
Yes.
we just need to decide in which order we're going to deliver them.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So, Valerie, one last question for you. What advice would you have for your 17-year-old self?
Oh, my goodness. What a good question. Okay, that's quite a hard one. All right, my 17-year-old self, I would say, wow, that's a really tough one. I would say that if it was specifically to me, I would say that I was very, very lucky in that even at 17, I truly believed that anything was possible.
Yes.
But what I didn't know was that, sometimes in life, things, circumstances, people will disappoint you, will let you down.
Oh.
And that's okay.
Mm-hmm.
Don't let it eat away at you, or don't let it, get you down, even if they let you down.
Yes.
So just accept that that's part of life. It may not have been personal or anything like that. It's just going to happen throughout life. But don't even sort of try and view it as a letdown. Just kind of go, oh, okay, and move on.
Mm-hmm.
And don't take it to heart. I don't want to end on a negative thing like that.
So would you have still, because I asked that question because I have a 17-year-old child myself, and so I'm asking that question of everyone and sort of thinking that he's going out into the world. So it's kind of, what does he need to know? How's he going to quickly get to where he needs to get to? So would you have still, I know you're a CPA, would you have still gone down that route?
Would I? What do you mean, would I have still
Because you went and did accounting initially, didn't you?
Yeah. So, no, I still would have, taken the route that I've taken now.
Yes.
Yeah, I still would have taken the route I've taken now because I always fundamentally believed in doing what you love.
Yes.
And I just happen to love writing more.
Yes.
And so I would have definitely gone down this path anyway, because it was just what was going to be nagging at me. I would have always felt that thing inside me, that itch that I had to scratch, and I knew that I had to go down this path in a sense.
Yes.
But if I had to, I'll just sort of change it around a bit. And if I had to give advice to your 17-year-old son as opposed to my 17-year-old self, I would probably say, anything truly is possible if you put your mind to it. B, just wanting it isn't enough, though. You need to work out the steps you need to take to get there. And it's not going to be handed to you on a platter, but it is in your reach.
Yes.
And once you work out the steps you need to take to get there, you just need to take them.
Yeah.
And it's as simple as that.
Yeah.
And once you take them, if you're serious about it, you will get whatever it is that you want in life.
Absolutely. On that very positive note, thank you so much, Valerie, for sharing your time with listeners today. I know that you've always been such an inspiration to me, and I benefited so much from the number of courses that I've done through the Australia's Writers Centre. So I look forward to more success from you and with the Australia's Writers Centre growing and taking over the world, improving English one course at a time. Thank you very much.
It's been my pleasure. I've thoroughly enjoyed talking to you, Heather.
Sensational. Hey, you made it to the other end. So if you like this show, Cloud Stories, can I get you to subscribe to the show and leave a 5-star review on iTunes and let your friends know about Cloud Stories? I'd really appreciate it if you can help me out that way. I've wanted to start my own podcast for years and years and years. So I'm really excited finally to be at this position. And it seems to be in a lot of hurdles along the way, but I want to have a huge shout out and thank you to a guy who really has inspired me for many years, and that's Tim Reed over at the Small Business Big Marketing Show. He's one of the guys who's sort of been instrumental in inspiring me to get to do this podcast, as well as Valerie Khoo, who's always been such a fabulous mentor. For those of you perhaps who don't know much about myself, I just thought I would throw in just at the very end a little bit about myself, but you can turn off now if you don't want to hear it. Anyway, so let me just share for those of you who don't know about me. I am the author of the series of the Xero for Dummies books. Yes, there are 4 in the series of Xero for Dummies books. I am a Xero certified advisor. I'm a chartered certified accountant. I'm with the ACCA, which is a UK-based accounting professional body. I've written Learn Small Business Startup in 7 days. I've also written Learn MYOB in 7 days. So I've written now 6 different books. I was born on the Gold Coast, which for those of you overseas who don't know, the Gold Coast is famous for theme parks, surrounded by theme parks and beautiful, beautiful beaches. I've worked in the UK, Canada, over at the other side of Toronto, worked in Singapore, of course I worked in Australia, and now I practically work virtually. Most of my work is now done virtually. So there you have it, a little bit of information about me. Please subscribe to the show, Cloud Stories, on iTunes, and tune in next week.
This show is sponsored by Rental SaaS. Rental SaaS is your end-to-end rental management solution, enabling you to keep track of bookings, hired items, and manage your inventory. Rental SaaS integrates seamlessly with Xero. Contact Siva and his team at rentalsaas.com for further information. If you want to get in contact with Heather Smith, please visit her website at www.heathersmithsmallbusiness.com. If you wish to find out more about XU magazines, contact Heather at au@xumagazine.com. You've been listening to Cloud Stories. If you like this podcast, please download it, share it with friends, share it on LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, and social media. And one more thing, can you leave Cloud Stories a 5-star rating on iTunes? Thank you.